Good morning, class 11. Welcome to your online class. Today, we are going to start with a new chapter, that is different forms of education. Still now, we have done many chapters, but uh, before starting this chapter, I must say something about the forms of education. Now, we have seen that there are different factors of education, like child or the student is the main subject, main factor of education. Teachers are there, school premises there, and curriculum. These are the factors of education. And different aims also we have seen: individual aim, social aim, and national aim of education. Now this chapter is forms of education. So when the question will come, you have to be very much alert that what is asked actually, whether it is different types, whether it is different form, whether it is the what are the aims of education, or it may ask the different aims of education, isn't it? So when the question will come, you have to be very alert that whether it is the form of education is asked. Now what is the meaning of form? If we illustrate the word form, then we understand that form means its structure. Why one is different to the other, different forms, isn't it? So now the question can arise that why there are different forms of education. Now, see, whatever you are learning in your life is a type of education, as we have read in the definition of education, that whatever we are experiencing is a part of our learning, is a part of our experience, and is a part of our education as well. But the way we are learning is different from one to the other. One type of education we are getting from book, that is you can name it as knowledge. Another type of education we are getting from our parents, that also a knowledge which we are gathering, but the way is different, it is from our parents. Now some we are gathering from our experience, which is coming from the society. Okay, and some co-curricular activities also we are learning, which is like some training, but the way and the norms and regulations which we have to follow is different. So depending on that, we have the educationists, the psychologists, or the educators. They have divided the entire form of education into different parts. So these forms of education we can divide according to the system, according to the relation between teacher and the student, according to the syllabus, or according to the subject matter which will be taught. So depending on that, forms of education, if we say, we have divided into informal, formal, and non-formal. See, this chapter is a vast chapter, it's quite a big chapter. And first, in this video, I will just give you one brief introduction about informal, formal, and non-formal education, and then slowly one by one I will discuss what are the characteristics, what are the limitations, how it is helping the, and what are the different forms of, like that, forms of formal education, informal education, like that. Now firstly, I must say that the forms of education, we can say it is of three types. One is informal, one is formal, and another one is non-formal. Now let's start with informal. Now informal means what? When there is a lack of formation, isn't it? It is called informal. So informal means what? What is occurring naturally, or what is happening naturally. Now see, in the earlier days there were no concept of the society, isn't it? And people, they used to live a vagabond life. They used to roam from one place to the other for food. And after that, when they realized that yes, living in a group is very important, the group and the society occurred, isn't it? Means it was formed, the society and the group was formed. Now after growing of a society or a group of people, when they started living together, they realized that yes, the young ones must follow the elder one, and they should learn. They do not, at that time they don't have the studies, they don't have houses, they don't have so many things to eat, isn't it? They used to roam in the jungle, and they used to collect their food, and with the they used to go to the forest for their, for making their clothes. They used to collect leaves, and they used to make their clothes like that. Means demand was not so much, but according to the evolution, according to the different changes of the society when occurred, slowly the society started growing. And when the society grows, the head of the society started making some rules and regulations, and thus the juniors used to follow the way the elders used to behave. Okay, so now the same thing, generation after generation, and still now the young ones used to learn from his parents, from his grandparents. So that is basically dependent on imitating. What is the meaning of imitating? When you are seeing something and you are doing, like mimicry. When you do see someone and you behave like him or her, it is called mimicry. In the same way, you have seen maybe in juniors in the home, they used to take bags, father's bag, and they used to wear father's shoe, and they used to visit to office. They used to do plating like mama, with tying up his hair with towel like that. This is called this is what is imitating. Means when the junior used to imitate, and they used to learn something from the elders. So this type of education, when something is learned through imitation or through some after seeing something, it is called informal system of education. Now it is not so much bounded, just like formal education. Formal education we will go next. Like there is no such rules and regulations. Now suppose you are seeing an elderly person is doing something, so what you will learn, it depends on you only. It is a individualistic process of learning. So what you will take, how you will grasp it, how you will illustrate it in your mind, it is up to you. So this type of learning, informal system of learning, is little flexible. Now next comes the formal system of education. Formal system of education is the most strict and rigid form of education. Why? Because in school, colleges and universities and different sorts of institute where you are giving a where you are getting a formal education, is the education what you are getting is called formal education. Means where there's this informal system of education, there should be a fixed syllabus depending on which you have to give the exam. In the annual, you used to give the exam according to the entire syllabus, according to the whole syllabus, isn't it? Just like that, formal education is a little bit strict, and it is not without any discipline. It has some discipline what you have to follow. You have to follow the syllabus throughout the year. I cannot teach you whatever I like, isn't it? Because there is a rules, and there are fixed syllabus what I have to cover throughout the year. So, and continuous evaluation process is also going on. So the excuse me. So this type of education is called formal education, where there's some rules and regulations. It's a little bit rigid. It is examination and evaluation oriented, and after the continuous evaluation goes on, and finally there's a syllabus. What you read in school and colleges is called formal education. Now the third comes the non-formal system of education. Now before I begin non-formal education, non-formal education is means the difference between formal education and non-formal education is what? Formal education, you are there's discipline, okay, but there is no age restriction. But in case of non-formal education, you can start your education at any time, and you can leave at any time according to your wish. Why? Because suppose a club has organized drawing classes, or music classes, or maybe dance classes, or recitation what you are learning. This sort of learning, see, if you, any one of you are engaged with recitation, those who know how to recite, yeah, maybe the age of 70 also a student can start their journey of recitation, isn't it? Even I can start, even my daughter can start, and one 80 years old person can also start. So this sort of, see, suppose this co-curricular activities or some sports or some training which is being given by a club, this sort of education where there is rules and regulations, but it is not so much rigid, so much strict like formal education. So non-formal education is a type of education where discipline and rules are there, but they are not at all rigid like formal system of education. So question, different sorts of question, this is a vague idea what I have given. In the next class we will start with informal education. What is informal education, what are the characteristics, how education is affected by informal education. All different 11 to 12 types of question can come from this chapter. I will give in detail, slowly I will proceed. And the difference between formal and non-formal, formal and informal, any type of question can come from this chapter. So go through your book. The page, it starts from page 111, 110, sorry. So you can start reading the part, and you will also later on, after 2-3 videos, you will get the PDF, and the same thing is written in the book. Thank you.